Imagine being born in a way no child ever had before, not from a mother's arms, not from a gentle cradle, but from the mind of Zeus himself. And imagine that when you emerged, you were not a helpless child, but a fully armed goddess, carrying a wisdom powerful enough to shape the fate of gods and mortals. This was Athena, but the most extraordinary part of her story is not simply that she was the goddess of wisdom. It is the question behind that wisdom. What made Athena different from the other gods? Because in a world ruled by power, anger, desire, and revenge, Athena represented something far more dangerous. She represented the ability to think before acting. Long before Athena appeared, Zeus learned of a prophecy that terrified him. His wife, Metis, was known for her extraordinary intelligence. But the prophecy warned Zeus that Metis would bear a child who might one day become more powerful than his father. Zeus did what frightened rulers often do when they cannot control the future. He swallowed Metis. But wisdom could not simply be swallowed and erased. One day, Zeus was struck by an unbearable headache. The pain became so intense that he could no longer endure it. And then something extraordinary happened. When his head was opened, Athena emerged, not as a frightened newborn, but as a powerful goddess in armor, carrying the terrifying clarity of a mind that already knew how to think. Her birth became a symbol of something profound. Wisdom does not always arrive quietly. Sometimes it is born from conflict, pressure, and pain. Athena quickly became one of the most respected figures among the Olympians. But unlike Ares, who represented the chaotic violence of war, Athena represented strategy, the ability to understand the battlefield before entering it. And this difference reveals something fascinating about the ancient Greek idea of wisdom. Strength could win a battle, but intelligence could determine whether the battle needed to be fought at all. One of Athena's most famous contests came when she competed with Poseidon for the protection of a great city. Poseidon offered something spectacular. He struck the earth with his trident and produced a gift associated with the sea. Athena offered something quieter, an olive tree. It could provide food, oil, wood, and prosperity. The people chose Athena, and the city became Athens. The lesson hidden inside this ancient story is remarkably powerful. Poseidon offered power and spectacle. Athena offered something that could sustain people for generations. Wisdom does not always choose the most impressive gift. It chooses the one whose value lasts. But Athena's wisdom had another side. She understood that intelligence without humility could become dangerous. That lesson appears in the tragic story of Arachne. Arachne was a remarkably talented weaver. Her skill became so extraordinary that she began to believe she was superior even to Athena. Athena challenged her. The competition revealed something uncomfortable. Arachne truly was extraordinarily talented. But talent had become entangled with pride. And the story ends tragically, with Arachne transformed into a spider. Whether we read this myth literally or symbolically, its deeper message is fascinating. Talent can make you remarkable, but believing you are beyond correction can destroy what makes you remarkable. And perhaps this is why Athena remains so compelling. She was not simply the goddess who knew everything. She represented a different kind of intelligence, the intelligence to observe, to calculate, to restrain emotion, and to understand consequences. She could fight, but she did not need violence to prove her strength. She could win, but her greatest victories often came through strategy rather than brute force. And that may be the most extraordinary lesson hidden inside her mythology. In a world where everyone wants to react instantly, wisdom creates a pause. In a world where everyone wants to prove they are powerful, wisdom asks what power is actually for. And in a world where intelligence can become arrogance, true wisdom remembers that knowing more does not make you greater than everyone else. Perhaps that is why Athena was so different. Her greatest weapon was never the spear in her hand. It was the mind behind it. Because real wisdom is not simply knowing the answer. It is knowing when to speak, when to remain silent, when to fight, and when walking away is the greater victory. And maybe that is why, thousands of years later, Athena still speaks to us. Because the world has changed. But human beings are still struggling with the same ancient question. Will we be ruled by our impulses? Or will we learn to think before we act? Athena's myth suggests that the greatest form of power may not be the power to defeat others, It may be the power to master yourself. And perhaps that is the final lesson Athena leaves behind. The wisest person in the room is not always the one who knows the most. Sometimes, it is the one who has learned to master the most powerful force of all, their own mind. If this story made you see wisdom differently, then perhaps Athena's ancient lesson still has something to teach us today. Until we meet again, keep looking beyond the ordinary.